Hey guys, and welcome to the weekly astrology insights for the week between April the 8th and April the 14th. So, here you can find the planets, and these are the degrees therein and the signs. Here you can find the aspects between the different planets, the elements, the planets in the different elements. And please don't pay attention on the house position because they are not important for us. We are only looking in the positions of the planets in the signs and the aspects between the planets, because this is something universal for all of us no matter where we are, and the house positions are different for the different places in the world. So during the whole week we have the transit sun in Aries. Like during the last week, Mercury is still in Taurus, but something interesting will happen. The transit Venus is in Pisces, but the interesting aspect it makes is the square with Saturn, which we are going to feel during the whole week. Mars is in Taurus during the whole week as well. And we are mostly going to pay attention on the aspects that we are going to have. So let's start with the 8th, which is Saturday, so the 8th of April. Interesting combination, we have a grand trine between the transit moon in Virgo, Pluto in Capricorn, and Mars in Taurus. You know that the grand trine is probably one of the most positive combinations and configurations, which gives us some kind of opportunities that comes easily to us. You know, these are things that sometimes might be as some kind of presents from the fate, or something that you just receive. And it's important to notice that the grand trine is in the earth signs. So it suggests that this is a great time to be more practical, to be more grounded, to be oriented on some kind of, real, stable, practical results. And the difference is that actually during the previous weeks we had lots of planets in fire signs, but now, especially until the first days, so on Saturday, on Sunday, we are going to have a dominant earth element. 4 of the planets are in earth element, which means that this is a time when we should be more relaxed, more, calmer. We should give things, more time. We shouldn't hurry so much. Yes, we have still the sun in Aries. It's very close to Uranus, so from one side we might be really impatient, we may want to do something, but with 4 planets in earth signs, you should be really, more grounded. Don't try to, take impulsive decisions, impulsive actions, but, give yourself some time to think about the situation. And as we said, the grand trine is really supportive for some kind of career project, for focusing on your responsibilities, especially with the moon in Virgo, to take care of the things that you really have to do. That's a very supportive combination. So especially even if it's Saturday, if you have some kind of work, probably it should be easier for you to take care of it. And another interesting aspect is that actually on Saturday we have an exact square between the Sun and Pluto. So here we can see it. And what does it mean? So first of all, we may feel it for a few days before and after that, but it's exact on Saturday. And that's a challenging aspect, definitely. The Sun in Aries is related with the desire to be independent, to take your own decisions, not to cooperate too much with other people, but instead more to focus, on your personal desires, on your own plans and goals. And Pluto in Capricorn is related, Pluto is a collective planet, so it's something which is beyond our control, beyond our will. And especially in Capricorn, it can be related with some kind of responsibilities, or some like some kind of organizations, even some kind of like a government power, or like institutions, organizations. And there can be a conflict between these two polarities. So from one side we have our personal desires, our what we want to achieve, and on the other hand, and desire for independence, and on the other hand we have some kind of responsibilities. Well, we want to do something, but it may not be right, it may not be approved from society, it might be literally forbidden or something like that. And these aspects are also can be related even with some kind of conflicts. So just be more careful with how you communicate with some kind of organizations or with figures which are part of these organizations. So the aspect is exact on Saturday, but even in the first days of the week, so on Monday, Tuesday, we may still feel the influence of this aspect. So if you have some kind of plans to some kind of take care of something related with institutions, work with organizations, just be more careful with that. Another aspect that we have is the square between the retrograde Venus and Saturn. So Venus is retrograde, which means that it's moving really slow. That's why this aspect will be felt for a longer time than usual. So basically during the whole week we are going to feel that, and it's absolutely exact. And it suggests that emotionally we may feel restricted in some way. Venus and Saturn are not a harmonious combination. So that suggests that we may feel, like suppressed, emotionally suppressed from something. It might be more difficult to express our emotions because, Saturn, when Saturn makes challenging aspect with Venus, usually it can be related with some kind of emotional boundaries. They might be on the inside. It may just be not the time when we want to share our feelings, or we can feel like in relationships things might be more related with our duty, with our responsibilities. We may not feel so romantically, in love with our partner and, focusing on the entertainment part, but instead Saturn can bring more responsibilities. You have to do something. You need to help your partner, or he requires something from you, or he's not allowing you to do something because, Saturn is the planet of restrictions. So generally, the atmosphere, the emotional atmosphere might be more a little bit suppressing during the whole week, because as we said, Venus is moving really slow, because very soon it will turn direct. So just a second to see. So actually on the 14th, which is on Friday. So on Friday, Venus will change its direction. So Venus will become direct. Probably we are going to discuss that in a different video, but just we may remember that after Friday, the emotional atmosphere will probably change. The emotional atmosphere will be much more different. So a few days before that, Venus is stationary, at the same time in square with Saturn, so it's not a favorable time for some kind of, dating with new partners, or some kind of, romantic holidays or something like that. That's not the best time to do that. Okay, so we have another interesting aspect, which is exact again on Friday, on the 14th. It's the exact conjunction between the Sun and Uranus. So that's a very interesting combination that can be related with a really strong desire for independence, really strong desire to do something on your own that you haven't done before, to take some kind of risks, to be more impulsive, and not to think too much about the consequences, but mostly what you would like to do at the moment. So something sudden might happen, something unexpected. People can be more impatient, nervous, they might be in a hurry. So generally there might be a lot of dynamics around us. Even if we have, Mars is still in Taurus, Mercury is in Taurus, but you might be, there might be two polarities. From one side, we want to do something really fast, and on the other hand, we need to wait a little bit. So another interesting thing we should pay attention on is that actually Mercury is going retrograde. And Mercury will become retrograde on the 10th, so it's on Monday. And Mercury retrograde, as we know, is generally the time when we should be careful with all kind of information, with everything, which includes, communicating with other people. If you're planning something like, some kind of trips, or if you have an exam, or if you need to travel somewhere, you should be more careful, because things might be, there can be some kind of delays, they can be a lack of information, or the information may not be accurate. So just be more careful. And so from the 10th, Mercury becomes retrograde, so on Monday, and it will be retrograde around 3 weeks as usual. And during this whole period, it's not a favorable time to start something really important, something totally new. That's more a favorable time to restart some kind of old projects, to make assessment of the past, to try to correct something, to change something that you have already started. And Mercury retrograde in Taurus suggests that we should be careful with all kinds of financial issues, with everything, which includes money. That's definitely not a good time for making financial investments, taking some kind of new initiatives while we have Mercury in Taurus. So Mercury in Taurus is generally related, even if it's not retrograde, but Taurus is a very, passive sign. It's related to things happen really slow, because it's a fixed and earth sign at the same time. So Mercury in Taurus suggests that things happen more, slower. And when it is also retrograde, that tendency is even more increased, because when the planet is retrograde, it's moving really slow. If the usual speed of Mercury is between 1 degree and 20 minutes until 1 degree and even up to 40 minutes, for some people up to 2 degrees in some cases for a day, that's the speed for the day. But when it is retrograde, the speed is much different. So first it moves with only a few minutes for the whole day. After that it might be, like 10, 15, 20 minutes, but it's much slower than usual. And it suggests that things don't happen so quickly, they may feel, you may feel like stuck, you may feel restricted, like you're rolling on the same place, and just you can't go so fast to the final goal as you would like to. So generally Mercury in Taurus retrograde requires from us to be much more patient, and yes, not to be in a hurry, not to be, which might be a challenge with the Sun in Aries, especially in conjunction with Uranus. We may feel like an inner impulse to take, really fast actions, to be impulsive. But with Mercury in Taurus retrograde, you need to think about it twice. You need to analyze it, to give yourself more time to think about before you take the final decision. And another thing I wanted to pay attention on, actually we are going to have a full moon as well, but we are going to discuss that in a different video. So yeah, the full moon is on the 11th, on Tuesday, but we will discuss that in a different video. And I wanted to analyze this. So on the 13th, so on Thursday, as we said, we have the Sun and Uranus very close in conjunction, and we have also the transit moon in Scorpio opposing Mars. This combination, so this aspect, the moon, Mars in opposition, the Sun in almost exact conjunction with Uranus, can be related with, increased possibility for some kind of traumas, for some kind of accidents. So just my advice is to be more careful, to avoid taking some kind of unnecessary risks, some kind of, for example, extreme sports, or something like that. Just be more careful. Working with some kind of machines, which I don't know, include some kind of knives or something that you can hurt yourself, literally, physically. You should be really careful, because the moon opposing Mars can bring, can be related with some kind of accidents, and Mars Uranus is also can be a traumatic aspect. So my advice is to be careful. And when we said about the moon, so from the 12th, which is Wednesday, we have the transit moon in Scorpio. So from Wednesday until Friday morning, so Wednesday and Thursday, we have the transit moon in Scorpio, and generally this is a time when they're more, the emotional atmosphere can be really intense. In my opinion, this can be one of the most challenging days during the whole month, because Scorpio brings a lot of tension. The moon in Scorpio is not in a favorable position, and very often people tend to be more, confronting with each other. They might be more pessimistic, some kind of more, unpleasant emotions are possible. So generally this is a time when, for example, I don't advise you to plan some kind of entertainment or like an important events, or some, not an important events, but more like things that are related with entertainment, with that should bring positive emotions. When the moon is in Scorpio, this is more difficult. But for some kind of business business plans, activities, this can be a positive transit, because Scorpio is the sign related with money, finances. So and actually you may need to take care of something, because we already said that we have Mercury in Taurus, and when the moon is in Scorpio, these are actually both of the signs related with finances. So probably some kind of, something related with your finances can be really important for you. You may need to take care of some kind of things probably you have forgotten about, or something might appear from the past, like things that you haven't paid for, or some people can receive money. But generally this combination, Mercury retrograde in Taurus and the transit moon in Scorpio, which is on Wednesday and Thursday, that can be related with something financially might be really important for you. And finally, on the 14th, so on Friday, we have the transit moon entering Sagittarius, and this should bring, more optimism for us. We should feel more, freed from something. Very often when the moon enters Sagittarius and leaves Scorpio, that's a time when you can feel some kind of relief. So I expect that Friday should be, like a more positive day for us, and generally the atmosphere should change. So I believe that these were the most important transits that I wanted to discuss with you. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next week again.